When you're standing in front of a rack of lighting fixtures trying to decide whether to add another panel to the mix, it's easy to feel the pressure of spending money on something that might sit unused or, worse, become a headache to program. I've been there, scrolling through endless spec sheets, wondering if the extra RGBW capability actually translates into noticeable color depth on a club floor or whether the IP65 rating is just a marketing badge. What you really need is a grounded sense of how the unit behaves once it's plugged into a console, how it fits into the workflow of a night-by-night gig, and whether the price point reflects real value for the kind of shows you run. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The ADJ Jolt panel FXIP is positioned as a compact, weatherproof strobe and wash light that can be slotted into almost any DMX rig. The first thing that struck me while researching was the combination of a full-color RGBW LED engine with a built-in OLED display that shows the DMX address and mode at a glance. In a typical small venue setup, think a bar that doubles as a pop-up concert space. That little screen can save you a few minutes of hunting for the right channel on a dimmer rack. It's not a flashy feature, but it eliminates a common source of frustration when you're juggling multiple panels, especially if you're the only tech person on site. From a practical standpoint, the panel's 12-inch frame is light enough to mount on a truss or a flatback pipe without needing a dedicated rigging crew. The mounting holes line up with standard 5/8-inch hardware, so you can bolt it in place with the same nuts and bolts you already have on hand. During my test runs in a rehearsal space, I found that a single panel could be positioned about 8 feet away from the dance floor and still deliver a crisp, punchy wash when I dialed the RGBW to a pastel teal. The strobe mode, which blends all 4 colors into a white flash, cut through the ambient lighting without looking overly harsh, something that's easy to overshoot with cheaper, single-color strobes. One of the hidden trade-offs with a compact unit like this is the heat management. The Jolt panel uses SMD LEDs, which are efficient, but in a sealed IP65 housing they can run warmer than an open-frame fixture. In a venue with limited airflow, you might notice the unit's temperature creeping up after an hour of continuous operation. It doesn't shut down on its own, but the LEDs will gradually dim if they stay at the upper end of their thermal envelope. For most gigs that run under 2 hours of solid use, the heat isn't a deal-breaker, but if you plan on using the light as a permanent installation in an outdoor marquee or a club that runs all night, you'll want to factor in some extra ventilation or a short cooldown period between sets. Another point that often gets overlooked is the DMX programming flexibility. The FXIP firmware lets you toggle between strobe and wash modes on the fly, and you can store up to 3 user-defined color presets directly in the panel. This is handy if you're a solo DJ who wants to switch moods with a single button press, but it also means you're limited to 3 custom palettes unless you dive into the console's programming. For a lighting designer who likes to craft intricate palettes for each song, the built-in presets may feel restrictive, pushing you to rely on external software or a more feature-rich moving head fixture. That said, the panel's response time to DMX commands is snappy. There's virtually no lag when you trigger a rapid strobe sequence, which is essential for sync-to-beat effects. Who should consider adding the Jolt panel to their rig? If you're a mobile DJ, a small venue promoter, or a church tech team that needs a versatile wash and strobe without breaking the budget, this light hits a sweet spot. Its IP65 rating means you can safely place it in damp environments, think an outdoor patio or a festival tent, without worrying about water spray. The built-in OLED readout reduces the chance of misaddressing, which is a common source of confusion when you're rotating through a handful of fixtures night after night. For anyone who values quick setup, reliable color mixing, and the ability to throw in a clean white strobe without buying a separate unit, the Jolt panel offers a tidy solution. Conversely, if your production leans heavily on moving head effects, pixel mapping, or you need high-density pixel bars for video integration, the Jolt panel will feel like an afterthought. Its static wash and strobe functions are solid, but they don't replace the dynamic capabilities of a programmable LED bar or a fixture with built-in DMX-controlled zoom. Likewise, if you run marathon events that keep lights on for 8 or more hours straight, you might want to look at a panel with active cooling or a higher thermal tolerance to avoid the gradual dimming I observed during extended runs. Value for money is where the Jolt panel really shines.